Every movement has its leaders, but in today's Republican Party, many of the loudest voices aren't leaders at all. They're purely salesmen. They drape themselves in the American flag, preach patriotism, sprinkle in a Bible verse here and there, and then rail against the elites, fooling millions into thinking that they are the real deal. But once the crowd is fired up, the mask falls, and the real pitch begins. Buy my book, donate to my PAC, or subscribe to my show. It's the only way to save us. This is the Republican grifter phenomenon, something that I have noticed abundantly in the past year. It is a billion-dollar outrage industry disguised as politics, and while it infects both the sides of the aisle, it especially hits hard on the right. As a libertarian who actually agrees with many conservative values, I find it insane that people don't pick up on this. These figures pose as defenders of liberty and tradition, but you and I both know what they really are: entrepreneurs of division, turning every crisis into a product line. And make no mistake, this isn't harmless, it's corrosive. Because when grifters dominate, real ideas die, real debate dies, and all that's left is noise, outrage, and merch. For people like me who genuinely believe in limited government and personal freedom, this is the central crisis of conservatism today. William F. Buckley once warned, "The central problem of conservatism is the temptation of demagoguery. What was once a temptation has now become the business model for politicians." So, thanks to the 10 of you who do, end up watching this, today we are going to be diving into the world of Republican grifters and how they've turned politics into one big hustle. Cue the intro. So, what is a Republican grifter? Picture a hybrid of three familiar American figures: the televangelist who promises salvation for a small donation, the infomercial host who will sell you anything in the right lighting, and the professional victim who insists the world is always against him. That's kind of the archetype. Grifters perform knowledge they don't have. They parade as true Christians. They cloak themselves in patriotism, treating the flag like a stage prop. And behind it all, there's always a hustle. The formula is timeless. Invent a threat, whip your audience into fear or anger, and then sell them the solution. That solution might be a book, a course, a donation link, or a t-shirt with an eagle on it. But it's never about solving the problem. It's always about monetizing it. This is nothing new. In the 19th century, snake oil salesmen roamed America with miracle elixirs. Today, grifters roam cable news and YouTube selling freedom coins. Now, I am a Christian and a patriot, but there has to be a way to call these people out for their BS and still share solidarity. Different medium, same trick. Jesus warned about these figures. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. Today's wolves wear patriotism as their costume. The danger is that these figures don't exist on the margins anymore. They're mainstream. So why does this even matter? Because America is desperately in need of a serious national movement. We're $34 trillion in debt. Liberty is shrinking under both the left and the right. The federal bureaucracy has ballooned into something the founders wouldn't even comprehend. These are the real issues, but grifters hollow them out. Instead of debates about the debt ceiling, we get outrage over Bud Light cans. Instead of arguments about federalism, we get screaming matches about Disney movies. Instead of recruiting young people to conservatism, we get endless rants about whatever stupid topic you can think of. And here's the tragedy. When independents and Gen Z look at Republicans, they don't see the tradition of Burke, Goldwater, Buckley, or Reagan. They see snake oil salesmen with microphones. The GOP doesn't look dumb because of Democrats. It looks dumb because its most visible figures profit off keeping it dumb. This isn't just optics, it's existential. When grifters dominate, real conservatives can't get heard. Serious candidates are drowned out. Policy proposals are ignored. And the Republican Party becomes defined not by its thinkers, but by its salesmen. The genius of the grifter is how well they feed on populism. Populism itself isn't inherently bad. Jefferson believed in the wisdom of ordinary citizens. Andrew Jackson championed the common man against the elite. But populism is vulnerable to hijacking. Enter the grifters. They twist genuine grievances into profitable outrage. They weaponize the people's distrust of elites, not to solve it, but to monetize it. Whether you like him or hate him, Trump's rise made this ecosystem explode. Practically overnight, every influencer had a podcast, a political PAC, or a Patriot merch store. Take Stop the Steal. It raised over $60 million. How much of that went to real election challenges? Almost none. The bulk filled consultants' pockets and salaries. Imagine if that 60 million had been invested in grassroots infrastructure, candidate training, state level organization, policy development. Imagine the movement that could have been built. Instead, it was siphoned off into the grifter economy. This is why grifters aren't conservatives. They're parasites. They don't build movements, they feed on them, weakening the host until it collapses. Then they move on to the next crisis. The most cynical disguise in the grifter's closet is the Christian mask. Faith is powerful. It builds communities. It inspires sacrifice. It gives life meaning. Grifters know this, and they exploit it. They turn Christianity from a faith into a brand. This isn't new either. In the 1980s, televangelists like Jim Bakker raised millions selling end-time bunkers and prayer cloths. He wasn't saving souls, he was buying mansions. When the scandal broke, it discredited Christianity, rightfully so, in the eyes of millions. Today, political grifters play the same game. They equate Christ with the political allegiance of some party. They preach that voting a certain way is tantamount to defending the gospel. They turn pulpits into campaign rallies. But look closer, and the hypocrisy is everywhere. Lavish lifestyles, scandals, corruption. Jesus flipped tables at the money changers. Today's grifters would set up merch booths right inside the temple. The danger isn't just hypocrisy, it's corruption of the faith itself. When Christianity is reduced to a campaign slogan, both the church and conservatism lose credibility. Conspiracies are the lifeblood of the modern grifter, and that's coming from a super conspiratorial guy myself. Why though? Because real problems get solved, but conspiracies never end. They're open-ended franchises. There's always another villain, another secret, another revelation around the corner. That means endless content, endless clicks, endless products to sell. I really like and respect him, but Alex Jones did perfect this. He didn't just scream about globalists. He built a business empire, nearly $800 million in sales, mostly from supplements, water filters, and survival kits, which is all good, and I respect him for that, but undoubtedly fear was the hook. Snake oil was the product. And once that model worked, everyone copied it. QAnon became a cottage industry. Every shadow became a deep state plot. Every tragedy was reframed as a false flag. Each spawned books, podcasts, conferences, and paywalls. And believe me, I agree with a lot of these narratives, but it is paramount that we refrain from succumbing to them and remember to question deeper. Grifters love conspiracy theories because conspiracies are sticky. They prey on curiosity and paranoia. Once someone buys in, they'll keep coming back, and that means reoccurring revenue. It's the oldest scam in the book. Don't solve problems, monetize them. Here's the cost: reputation. When outsiders look at Republicans, they don't see great thinkers arguing about federalism or liberty or the Bill of Rights. They see clowns hawking gold bars and ranting about the other side. And it sticks, especially with young people. Once Gen Z decides conservatism is a circus, the movement loses them for decades. Think about it. In the 1960s, William F. Buckley sat across from Gore Vidal in nationally televised debates, presenting conservatism as intellectually serious. Today, the most viral conservative clips are of influencers yelling at retarded teens on the street for clicks. And yes, I'm looking at you, Matt Walsh. This is why grifters are so dangerous. They don't just rob their followers, they rob the future. They ensure that conservatism is remembered not for its ideas, but for its snake oil. Why are there more grifters now than ever? The simple answer: the internet rewards them. Social media algorithms don't care about truth or nuance, they care about engagement, and nothing engages like outrage. That's why a thoughtful discussion about balancing the federal budget gets 10,000 views, while a viral rant about a gay beer can get 10 million. It's the junk food analogy. Outrage is the intellectual fast food, addictive, cheap, and everywhere. It doesn't nourish, it sickens. And the conservative movement, addicted to it, has grown obese, angry, and incapable of reform. Tocqueville warned that the democracies we see can decay when people prefer entertainment to seriousness, bread and circuses modernized for the algorithm. The grifter phenomenon isn't new. It's a cycle as old as American populism. In the 1800s, traveling salesmen peddled miracle cures. In the 1980s, televangelists promised salvation for a small price of $19.99. In the 2000s, Glenn Beck scribbled chalkboard conspiracies while selling gold. In the Trump era, it was Milo Yiannopoulos and Mike Lindell. Today, its influencers thrive on outrage until they burn out or pivot. The pattern never changes. Rise fast, milk the outrage, burn credibility, vanish, and cease to exist. And every time, serious conservatives are left holding the bag while the grifter cashes out. Here's the most controversial take. Republican grifters aren't a betrayal of capitalism, they're its purest form. They don't care about liberty or principle, they care about markets, and they've turned the Republican voters into the ultimate consumer base. Every fear becomes a product, every grievance becomes a subscription. This is not a new phenomenon. The irony, the party of Reagan, the one that preached of free markets, entrepreneurship, and rugged individualism, has allowed its grassroots to become commodified, not a marketplace of ideas, but a marketplace of merch. The Wall Street Journal warned that conservatism risks turning into a movement of entrepreneurs rather than statesmen, and that prophecy has come true. Instead of debating Locke or Burke, conservatives are debating which one of them is a part of the woke right or which one's more pure. Instead of cultivating the next Washington, they are elevating the next influencer who can sell $40 Patriot tumblers. Capitalism without guardrails doesn't strengthen movements, it hollows them out. Perhaps the saddest casualty of the grifter era is Christianity itself. For centuries, the church was the moral compass of Western civilization. It inspired the abolition of slavery, the civil rights movement, and countless acts of compassion. But when grifters hijack it, Christianity is gutted into a brand. The prosperity gospel already paved the way. Televangelists promising financial blessings in exchange for seeds of faith donations. Now the formula has merged with politics. Instead of promising salvation, they promise victory over the left if you donate to my PAC. Not to be rude, but look at Charlie Kirk's wife. It's very similar. Nietzsche saw this danger clearly when he declared, God is dead and we have killed him. What he meant was that Western society was trying to keep Christian morality while discarding God himself. That's exactly what grifters do. They keep the language of Christianity or conservatism and drain it of substance, then weaponize it for political clout. This is not harmless. When young people see Christianity reduced to a slogan, Jesus is my savior, Trump for president, they don't just reject conservatism, they reject faith itself. And in that sense, the grifters are worse than those people. They turn religion into a gimmick. Compare the eras. In the past, Reagan declaring Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. Buckley on television, sparring with Fidel over the nature of liberty. Goldwater publishing the consensus of a conservative, shaping a generation of Republican thought. In contrast, today, you see a screaming match over whatever is on TikTok. Viral clips of influencers berating retail workers. CPAC booths selling Let's Go Brandon bobbleheads. It is just not a look we should go for. Conservatism once prided itself on ideas of limited government, strong defense, personal responsibility, individual liberty. But those principles don't trend on social media. Outrage does. And so the grifters pivoted. Conservatism is no longer about Burke or the Constitution. It's about whether a candy mascot should wear high heels. I'm thinking of Tucker Carlson. But when history books are written, conservatism's intellectual decline won't be blamed on Democrats. It will be blamed on its own court jesters. The problem with grifters isn't just what they do to the Republican Party. It's what they do to America. We're all in this together. When politics looks like a scam, people stop believing in democracy. When leaders spend more time selling supplements than solving problems, crises go unanswered. Debt grows, foreign policy blunders multiply, and civil liberties are eroded. The founders warned us about this. James Madison argued that self-government depends on virtue among people, but grifters don't cultivate virtue. They cultivate cynicism. They tell their followers, the system is broken and nothing matters except for loyalty to me. The result is apathy. People check out. Or worse, they embrace authoritarianism because they no longer trust that a democracy can work. Grifters don't just weaken the GOP, they weaken the republic itself. Grifters don't sell ideas, they sell themselves. Instead of principles, they build fan clubs. Instead of truth, they sell you merch. It's less like Washington and more like WWE wrestlers gimmicks, slogans, cheap shots for the crowd. History shows us the danger of this. Rome collapsed into dictatorship when political loyalty became about personalities instead of institutions. Caesar was loved more than the Republic, and when Caesar fell, the Republic never recovered. The same dynamic plays out with every grifter. Their movements collapse when they burn out, because they never built principles, only parasocial relationships. The irony, a movement that preaches small government ends up worshiping big personalities, and when personalities replace principles, the movement eats itself. No demographic has seen or been more alienated by grifters than young people. Gen Z already distrusts institutions. I know I do. They grew up watching the Iraq War unravel, the 2008 crash wipe out their families, and student debt crush their peers. And then, when they look at conservatism, what do they see? Survival buckets, conspiracy podcasts, and incoherent TikTok rants. Instead of being introduced to the serious case for liberty, they're force-fed culture war gimmicks. Instead of reading Hayek or Friedman, they're memed into paranoia. The result is devastating. A Pew study found that fewer than 30% of Gen Z identifies as conservative, and the number drops every single year. Grifters haven't just failed to recruit young people, they've actively repelled them. They've handed half of a generation to the left, not because they or conservatism is wrong, but because it has been made into a joke. Here's the irony. The very people who preach personal responsibility thrive on victimhood. Every speech, every podcast, every tweet begins with the same refrain. You're under attack. You're being silenced. You're the real victim here. And don't get me wrong. I really believe you are. Absolutely, I believe that we are under attack and we need to unite together. But the obvious pattern is plain to see. People are taking advantage of you. Today, the audience buys in. Because fear is easier than responsibility. Outrage is easier than discipline. Of course, all of this silencing happens while these same voices are broadcasted to millions, sign book deals, and headline conferences. They're professional victims with million-dollar platforms. Again, I'm not discrediting their grievances, but you have to be aware of this. Alex de Tocqueville once observed that democratic societies are especially vulnerable to demagogues who flatter grievances. The grifters have weaponized that. They've turned self-pity into a business model. The tragedy is that conservatism once thrived on stoicism, on the idea of grit and responsibility. Now it thrives on grievance, and grievance never builds, it only corrodes. Here's the cruel twist. The biggest beneficiaries of Republican grifters aren't Republicans at all. They're Democrats. Every outrageous video that goes viral is clipped, shared, and amplified by the left. One clown becomes the face of conservatism. One scandal discredits the entire party. This isn't speculation. Look at 2022. Democrats boosted fringe Republican candidates in primaries because they knew that those figures would implode general elections. It worked. Grifters aren't just a GOP liability, they're a Democratic asset. Sun Tzu wrote, "Never interrupt your enemy when he is making a mistake." The left has taken that to heart. They don't need to destroy conservatism, they just need to let grifters ruin it. So here's the challenge. The next time someone waves a flag and says, "I'm fighting for you," ask yourself, what are they selling? Is it liberty or a gold bar? Is it principle or a podcast subscription? Maybe the GOP doesn't have a Democrat problem or a media problem. Maybe its biggest problem is that it can't stop selling snake oil to its own people. And as long as the grifters lead the way, conservatism won't be about liberty, faith, or truth. It'll just be about the next hustle. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it. I think it's like episode number 14 of the Principle Over Party podcast. Let me know what you think down below. I felt like this for a long time where I see all these corny people go online and just spew garbage, and a lot of people get captured by them. Heck, I don't know, maybe I could be one of those people. We'll see. I'm not going to bash me. But yeah, let me know. Give me a comment. Thank you so much. Appreciate y'all. Deuces.